What's going on, everyone? It's Mike back again. Mike is starting to look trim, sophisticated.
Definitely not slim.
Brilliant. Stylish, quality, outstanding. And it does look like, touch wood, I will be at the Palace game tomorrow. We're going to start with the Palace game. We're just going to spend 5 minutes because I think there's bigger fish to fry other than the Palace game. Obviously, it was 0-0 at Selhurst Park. John, I'm expecting to win this game 2-0, 3-0. I think Everton fans will go into this game wanting to win. I think there'll be a little bit of anger following what has been said and what has happened today. Are you going to be there? Are you going to be angry? And are you thinking we're going to win 2-0 up the Toffees?
I'll be there. I'm always angry at the game, as you know. But listen, again, I'll say this again. I'm starting to say this about every game. I don't know what Everton are turning up. Decore's touch and go, listening to Dyche today. Ashley Young's not going to be involved. Coleman's got a tight hamstring, so he is going to have to make changes. Don't know whether he's sort of using that as an excuse just to rest a few players. But listen, I don't agree if that's the case because we haven't got a game this weekend. So for me, play the strongest 11 available. If he does, as you quite rightly say, with the Goodison crowd behind them, after everything that's gone on over the last day or two, then I think the strongest Everton 11 that he can put on the pitch will get a victory. I'll go for 2-0.
Yeah, well, there you go. I'm glad we agree. I'm going to give you my team as well to start with. I'll go with Yao Virginia in goal. I think he played well against Palace, and I think it would be fair to let him play at Goodison Park. I'll go with Mikalenko at left back. I'll go with Tarkowski and Branthwaite as centre halves. I'll go with Nathan Patterson at right back. In the middle of the park, I'll go Garner, James Garner. It's like 007, that was, wasn't it? I'll go with Amadou Onana, and if he is fit, I start Abdoulaye Doucouré. Up front, I'll go for Danjuma on the left. Right side, I'll go for Lewis Dobbin, and up front, I'll go with Beto. I know there's a few changes there, and I know John might disagree with some of them. And look, there's certain footballers there that I don't think are footballers, which is Beto included, unfortunately. I think I need to see him play 90 minutes. I need to see him doing more. And I think against the Palace side, you know, there's a break for Everton. Calvert-Lewin can maybe just have a break. I just want to see more from Beto, and I think this is an opportunity to give him that opportunity. As much as it is Lewis Dobbin, you know, Jack Harrison played all right the weekend. I thought he worked hard, but there wasn't loads of end product. Lewis Dobbin deserves a start, and Danjuma, I probably think, is our most threatening, most attacking player that we've got. So he absolutely starts for me. I'd even have no problem starting Dwight McNeil, starting Harrison, and putting Danjuma up front on his own as well, John. I'm not bothered.
That's the only changes I was going to make. Then I was going to say that. Personally, I played Danjuma through the middle. I think Beto is not good enough. And listen, I'll probably get slagged off because he hasn't been here long enough. I actually think he's one of the worst centre forwards I've seen in an Everton shirt for a long, long time. I think I'd rather see Oumar Niasse there than Beto. To be fair,
I completely agree, John. I think Oumar Niasse had more tenacity. I think Cenk Tosun had a better first touch and turn. I don't get it. I don't understand how Everton. I want it to work for Beto, like I do. I just don't see how it can. He's too flat-footed. He's too slow. His reaction speed isn't quick enough. I don't see how he's a Premier League striker, John. I really don't.
Listen, I don't see what he gets. And the problem we've got here, Michael, is the contract that he's on at the minute. We've got to pay £30 million for him next season. Now, I'm not being funny. There's no way on God's given earth, and I know prices are inflated in football these days, but Jesus Christ, he's not worth £30 million at all. He's not. And the situation that the club's in, which probably brings us on nicely to what we want to talk about, we can't afford to be paying £30 million for a player like that, where you don't know what he is. I just don't know what he is. I'd have no problem, as you quite rightly say, Harrison jobbing on the right, giving McNeil a start on the left and playing Danjuma through the middle, because wherever Danjuma plays, I think he has to start.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I actually think, look, I haven't had lots of negatives for Dyche in recent weeks, but one of the negatives that I will say, and I have consistently said, is I haven't seen enough of Danjuma, because I have always rated him. And I'm not saying he's phenomenal. I'm not saying he's the best winger, best attacker in the world, but he's got something different to McNeil, which is pace, which is physicality, which is the fact that he can drop a shoulder. He's got more skill. There's no doubt McNeil is a better finisher. There's no doubt McNeil in the penalty box scores 6 goals and Danjuma probably scores 4 goals. But we're not getting the ball in the box. So we need to do more in the final third to win games, because all of a sudden we've stopped scoring again. And that
I think obviously, if the likes of Danjuma plays, then we're probably hoping that Decore does play. And if Decore does play, then I'd have no problem playing Danjuma up front, because he's a good foil if he's playing further forward as well. Decore can probably win flick-ons to Danjuma. But I think he's probably the only player we've got who's capable of making that defence split and pass for Danjuma to run on with his pace, as you said, with the strength that he has. Because I'm telling you now, mate, 8 times, 7 times out of 10, one-on-one, Danjuma scores. He doesn't need time to think about it. We've seen that. He's the only thing I'd take out of his game, if I could. I think he's a bit greedy. I think he needs to think about other players, get his head up, look around, look what's round by him. Do you know what I mean? And lay the ball into other players if they are in the box. But as you quite rightly say, how can he do that if we're not getting enough people in the box?
I agree. And also, just to caveat that, he might look at the players around him and go, there's no point passing to these because they're shite. I mean, I don't know what I don't know what he's thinking. This is a player that's played European football. This is a player that's played at a decent level. So you kind of don't know what's in his thought process. I don't know, but
well, he scored a lot of goals, Michael, playing through the middle. We've seen it with Villarreal. We've seen it when he was at Bournemouth. He's very capable of playing the striker's job. Do you know what I mean? And our strikers at the minute aren't scoring goals. They're not. So play someone there who will hopefully, when they get a chance, whether it be one-on-one, whether it be a snapshot, whether it be running at the defence, whether it be cutting in, taking players on. Sounds terrible, this. Danjuma will probably be the best finisher at the club if he got more game time.
Yeah. In terms of Palace, it feels unfair not to mention them, but in terms of Palace, obviously, in the game, we got a red card, which was rescinded. Still sits on his record, which I think is an absolute disgrace, by the way. I mean, just sums the Premier League, but we'll talk about them in a minute. Players like Elise, Eze, I don't know if they're available. I haven't looked at the Palace, team or anything. But they can cause us problems if they play. Are you worried about us maybe playing a little bit too defensive and them cutting through us, or do you think we've got a problem in this game at all, John?
Well, the thing is, Michael, we're at home with the home team. We shouldn't be thinking about playing defensive. But when you've got players like that on the opposition, Elise and Eze, who are very capable of causing problems for us, who are capable of scoring, then you've probably got Ayew. I don't know how many changes Hodgson's going to make, but they are players that worry you, and we've seen it when in the 0-0. Players like that are coming on and they're causing us problems, and them players that you've named there, no disrespect to Palace, will probably move on to bigger and better clubs because they're capable of it and they're good enough to be playing at a higher level than Crystal Palace. And that's no disrespect to Palace. You probably know that yourself if there's any Palace fans watching this. So they can cause us problems, but Everton have to be on their game, Michael. I thought the Villa game the other day was a bit of a boring game. So we have to be up for it if we want to progress to the next round of the Cup. Because, listen, whether it's the Cup or the League, we need to start winning again, Michael. We haven't won in 5. It's looking precarious. We've got things hanging over our heads. We need to get some wins on the board to build the confidence back up, which is what we seen when we were on that, when we won 4 on the trot and then we lost 3. And It's been a bit of a shit show since the Fulham game in the Carabao Cup. So we have to start building the confidence and putting confidence back into the players. And I think if we can play to our capabilities tomorrow, like we know we can, I do think we can beat Palace and restore something back into the team.
Yeah, you're right. I was just looking at some of the Crystal Palace news, and it does look like Michael Elise is out, Czech Doucouré is out, and they've also got players that have gone to the African Cup of Nations in Jordan Ayew and Mateus Franca. So, you know, they've lost players who, no, Franca
can make a difference.
Yeah, there is players there that they've lost. So, look, yeah, I mean, I was confident going into the Fulham game when we ended up penalties. I'm confident going into this game. I really don't want to do more penalties because I didn't go home until 2:30 in the morning. So I'm all right with that, boys. Go and win the game. Bring on Tom Davies and go and win the game. That's all I say.
Brilliant.
Right, let's talk about the other things. And I'm going to read a quote to you, John. The rules are for everyone, not just the small clubs. That's what Richard Masters said today. And he commented that about 9 times English champions Everton Football Club, who have also won 5 FA Cups, a European Cup Winners' Cups, countless shields, the same club that stood up for the Premier League against the top 6 when there was on about abandoning them, the same club that has helped Everton in the community and won numerous awards for supporting fan bases, not just in Everton, but all around the country. He also made that comment regarding everybody else other than the top 6, and also included Nottingham Forest, who have won 2 European Cup wins, and I think it's 2 league titles, 1 league title. Either way, Richard Masters today, he stamped his fist on the table, and he basically said there is 6 clubs who are big, and there's 14 clubs who are small.
Yeah. Well, I haven't watched the whole thing that was on Sky News today, but we all have seen clips on social media. Listen to the way he was blubbering on, and some of the comments that he come out with, and some of the questions that were getting asked towards him by the people who were in that room. He's dug a massive hole for himself, in my opinion, today. Yeah. He's fucked himself, and I think the other 14 clubs will listen to that comment, because listen, I've seen people on social media saying he said this about Everton, he said it about Tottenham, Forest. No, he hasn't. It's not just aimed at us too. It's aimed at everyone apart from the big 6, and we all know how the Premier League feel about that big 6. It's different rules for them and different rules for the rest of the 14. He's dug a massive hole for them, and you know, I've been quite worried about the appeal process that we're going to go through twice. Obviously, we're getting one first. I think it's February. Watching him today and some of his comments, I'm actually feeling confident now that we will get some points back, because the appeal board and the commission, who are going to stand up in front of him and basically put the same sort of stuff across to him as what was done today, they're not going to stand for that. That appeal board will not stand for the shit that egotistical Richard Masters has come out with today. They will have him over a barrel if he starts coming out again in the appeal with comments like that.
Yeah, so let me just, from my understanding, explain the process. So Everton and Nottingham Forest have both been charged with breaches to the profit and sustainability rules, as we mentioned yesterday in yesterday's video with Forest Fan TV, who were great, by the way. They've put a really good tweet out, and I'll share it with you in a minute. But the rules essentially are that Everton's 10-point deduction is going to appeal. That should finish, and a decision be made at the end of February. Depending on the outcome of that, Everton could still push it further and go to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, potentially. It depends what the result is. But Everton lawyers, Everton fans, a lot of people in the game seem to be fairly confident that something is going to happen regarding that points deduction, whether it be capped at 6, at 5, whether it be, you know, turned into a fine because it's regarding financial breaches rather than playing breaches. Who knows? But the point of the matter is, there is a growing level of confidence that it will not be 10 points. Now, that also means that the two after cases, which is one for Forest, one for Everton, have to be dealt with and treated in the same way. So they can't just go and give 10 points for the next one if they've already rescinded the amount of points Everton got. So if they get 6, they've got to get 6 again, and Forest have got to get 6. I don't know. I know what I think is going to happen, and I've shared it with John. I think the points deduction will be reduced from 10 points to either 5 or 6, and I think Everton will get nailed for 2 of them, essentially, because we broke it twice. The reason why Everton have almost accepted the second one is because they think the first one is flawed. So based on the outcome of the first one, they had no choice but to accept the second one, even though they believe they're in the right on the first one. So if they get off the one, they're getting off both. That's what happens fundamentally. Everton are either going to be done twice or done 0. Now, Forest is a bit different, but we're not here to talk about Forest. But the fact of the matter is that Richard Masters sat there today. He answered the questions appallingly. And the select committee that was there spoke about the fans. The one guy mentioned that he was a Reading fan and that the integrity of the league will be questioned. That's correct. The integrity of the Premier League is already being questioned regarding refereeing decisions. So it is abundantly obvious. It is abundantly obvious what the Premier League want. Richard Masters sat there today with a smug little smile on his face, thinking he can get away with it. And the problem is, it is now coming to fruition that he can't get away with it. There is decisions that have gone against Everton for absolutely years. And me and John, of other Everton fans, other fans all over the world, other football fans in general, are now seeing how corrupt the Premier League is. They're now seeing decisions going against them. They're now seeing how financial fair play is falling apart and only benefiting the big teams. As we mentioned yesterday, Brennan Johnson's transfer to Spurs is a prime example. Because Brentford come in 2 weeks before and it was offered at 30 million. Forest did the right thing, in my opinion, holding out for an additional 20 million. So he went for 50 million. Under current rules, he would have had to have been sold for 30 million, which would have provided a sporting gain to, I think he mentioned Brentford, which I think is bold, but whatever club had come in for Brennan Johnson before that. So it is absolutely geared towards supporting the big 6. It hasn't moved through inflation. It hasn't moved for anything. And the simple fact of the matter is, it is wrong. You can sit there and give me your Simon Jordan comments on TalkSport, and you can sit there and give me your breakdown on why you think it's right and why this select committee originally penalised Everton and give them a 10-point deduction, which, by the way, included a former West Ham board member. I mean, that just speaks volumes in itself. So the Premier League, in my opinion, today, in front of whoever watched that, thousands of people that watched those clips, thousands of millions of people on social media have made themselves look like an absolute idiot because the man talking about it today, in my opinion, doesn't have a Scooby-Doo. There's more chance that John could run the Premier League and get it right. Honestly, he hasn't got a Scooby-Doo. He hasn't got a clue. And I honestly hope that he's read through like an absolute book. He just opened the pages, read through his mentality, his egotistical approach, and he gets booted off the Premier League in a heartbeat. And somebody with an actual ounce of dignity and actually knows what they're doing takes over, because him and his group of clowns behind him doesn't deserve to be in charge. End of story, full stop. And I would say that to his face. I'd say that in the select committee. I'd say it to anyone. They are an absolute joke. And point blank, I can't get over the fact that it has taken this long to get to it. So for me, I'm done with it. For him to sit there today and to even mention the word small clubs shows the integrity of that man. And just to put this into perspective, this is Everton. 9 titles, 5 FA Cups, 1 European Cup Winners' Cups, 9 Charity Shields, most top-flight games, and a founder of the Premier League. Forest, 1 League Cup, 2 FA Cups, 2 European Cups, 4 League Cups, 1 Charity Shield, 1 Super Cup. And then you talk about all of the other things. Then there was a tweet that Elliot Bretland, or El Bretland, come out with. He's quite a prominent Twitter Everton fan. And he's done some work in the media. If the Toffees ever go down, Chelsea and Tottenham will each need to play 30 seasons in the top flight without Everton to match it. City 23, United 20, Villa 12. That's how big we are. So don't sit there and insult me and our football club and give it the big one, because trust me, mate, you haven't got a clue.
Well, you see, that smacks of the corruption straight away, doesn't it? Because when you look at the top 6 or the big 6, whatever you want to look at it, and then you reel off the trophies Everton have won, and you reel off even the trophies Forest have won, it's probably more than most of them top 6. So how he can sit there and listen, he's dug a massive hole for himself now. And you know, once this appeal is gone through and he can't dig himself any much more of a bigger hole, he won't be in that job. Because I'm telling you now, the other people in the Premier League and the PGMOL will see him for what he is. And with comments like that, if they don't do something about it, they're all going to be tarnished. Every member of the whole Premier League, the PGMOL, will all be tarnished with the same brush that man has disrespected the other 14 clubs in the Premier League today. I do want to add something to it. I have seen things today that if Everton don't win the second one, and we do get a points deduction, it's a minimum of 6 points. A minimum of 6. If Everton appeal that, and it goes to appeal, we won't know the outcome of that appeal for this second breach of financial thing that Everton have done until 5 days after the last game of the season. Straight away, I thought it had to be done in that season. So that's wrong straight away. So basically what they're saying is Everton could stay up by so many points, then 5 days after the season finishes, they give us another points deduction and we're relegated when the season's finished. Where's the sense in that? How can that be right? It's just, it smacks of corruption, and we all know now that it's the whole setup, the whole Premier League and whoever's in charge of it, the top people, the corruption absolutely stinks. And they're all digging this massive hole for themselves now, that eventually, when they get put over a barrel like they did today in the Houses of Commons, they're not going to be able to get out of it. And it will make, they'll see so many changes, and hopefully they'll bring the right people into the Premier League and other football structures who run it, and people in the background, and bring the right people in. Because at the minute, when he's calling Everton, Forest and other clubs who've won more than that top 6 teams, small clubs, sorry, Masters, you've absolutely fucked yourself and you've had a nightmare today.
Yeah. I'm not being rude, guys. I'm just glancing at some of the tweets and the comments, and the questions that were asked today were really, really good. Some of the questions, some of the points, some of the almost the accusations. So look, we've nailed Masters, we've nailed the Premier League, and they're never going to watch this video. But if they did, I'm pretty sure I would become an internet celebrity in a heartbeat. 777. It appears he made a little comment today regarding 777, and I think he alluded to the fact that may not go through, and that we will know in a few weeks. Now, I have concerns regarding that, because if 777 doesn't happen, which, if I'm being brutally honest, if I had any other option, I would prefer that one. If it doesn't happen, I'm absolutely fine with it as long as someone is waiting in the wings to save us fundamentally. But if there isn't, there is no solution to this situation because Mashiri won't put money in. Everton don't generate enough money to cover the costs because, you know, loan payments and whatever. Financially, we're finished. We could end up with, you know, another 9-point deduction for going into administration.
And this is the thing, you know, there is rumours that there's a US-based consortium interested in Everton. Obviously, they've got to let the 7771 play out before they can get involved in the club legally. There's probably been talks done already because I think it's blatantly obvious that 777 are going to struggle to become owners of Everton Football Club. But we haven't got people booting the door down, Michael, and every day, and we said this last night when Wolfie was on, you know, on the video we done last night, we're losing money every day with these interest payments. So Mashiri's not going to put any more money in. He's lost interest in the club. He's not asked in the club anymore. We need someone in because if the 777 falls through, which, to be fair, as long as we know there's someone waiting in the wings, as you quite rightly say, I'm not asked if it falls through because it will be for the good of the football club based on what 777 are like, because it's a weekly occurrence now that companies are taking them to court. They're putting, you know, they're taking libel cases out against them because they owe double figures in millions to them. They owned 4 planes. That's gone tits up. Someone else has took them to court in the last day or two for, I think it was 24, 26 million pounds. We don't need people in our club like that, but let's get straight to the point. We need someone in. We need someone in, and I just hope there's, as you quite rightly say, Michael, there's people waiting in the wings, because if there isn't, I don't know where we go from there, because you'd have to be a very brave group of people to step in and come and try and take over Everton and buy Everton if 777 don't get in with everything that's going on around the club. You'd have to be a brave group of people to finish the stadium, to pay the loans off, to give Mashiri what he wants, to subsidise and to pay for the day-to-day running of the club with the 10-point deduction hanging over our head. Let's forget about how the appeal goes for a minute. In hindsight, we've been hit with 10 points minimum by the looks of it. It's going to be another 6. You'd have to be a very, very rich man and a very, very brave man to take over a club with everything that's going on around it with a 16-point deduction from 2 hits in the same season.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, and we don't know anything about these consortiums in the way. You know, we really don't. There's been rumours.
Well, we did. When you think about it, Michael, sorry to butt in, I remember when Mashiri got announced. We didn't even know there was talks going on. Bang, I remember it. It was a Saturday.
Yeah, it was.
Everton had been took over. It was a Farhad Mashiri. It was a Saturday.
Yeah, it was.
I remember it.
It was the 28th of February.
Yeah, I remember it. I remember hearing it, you know. The what?
I was on a stag do.
Brilliant.
I went on in my life.
You don't get drunk anymore. Wait until my 50th. Wait until my 50th. Yeah, nothing was the same for you, and nothing would be the same for Everton, apparently. It's fucking gone tits up. Nothing's ever been more fucking worse. It's never been worse. And I reiterate again, the stadium is the big problem for us at the minute, because that's what the loans have gone to. And I think that's being proved with the financial situation that the club are in, nothing to do with the players. I think it was something like, I think Michael said this last night, and I heard it again today. from one of the clips that happened with Masters today. I think Everton are third or fourth lowest net spend in something like 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's nothing to do with the playing side.
No,
Don't fucking hurt the fans, because this is hurting the fans. You know, this is hurting Everton fans. Bashiri's not asked in all these fines and these points deductions and these loans, because he's not going to have to pay them if someone comes in. It's us who've been hurt because he couldn't fucking run a fucking brothel with a tenner hanging out of his pocket.
Brilliant. One of the things just to finish on is, obviously John alluded to, and obviously I have as well. There is several loans that have been put in for running costs towards the club and the stadium. There's been funding towards the stadium, etc., etc., etc. A lot of that will be essentially solidified into the stadium. So what will probably happen is, once the stadium is built, Everton will take out a massive mortgage on the stadium and essentially pay off the creditors at a lower interest rate because of the rates against the stadium. Now, the problem is, as we all know, since the stadium was being built, the credit rate, the interest rate was about 0.1%. And I think at the moment it sits at, please correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I haven't looked, but it's about 4.5%. So there's a big difference.
4 times as much.
No, it's 400 times as much.
4
times much. I don't know, John. You've put me on the spot there, but it's either 4 or 40 or 400. It's not 4. It's 40 or 400. But either way, it's a lot of money. The difference. I mean, you're talking millions. Well, you're talking probably a few £1 million a season difference. That's how catastrophic the interest rates are to Everton on this stadium, and the loans as a result have crippled this football club.
Yeah,
and the poor management and everything that goes around it.
And the thing is as well, Michael, once this new stadium's built, if it comes to that situation, what you've just alluded to, then it affects the playing side of it. Then, because we can't go out and spend money on players, you know.
No,
so.
It probably helps, John. It probably helps.
All right, okay. Well, as I say, you're better with this than me.
It probably helps, because what fundamentally is happening at the minute, and the ESC essentially said this, is they've got this issue where Everton have borrowed money at essentially commercial finance rates. Now, that could be 10, 12, 15%. And you're talking, this is millions and millions of pounds. So imagine a £100 million loan with 15% interest. So that's £15 million interest. It's very difficult to comply with PSR, especially when you've got not just that loan, but you've got another loan, another loan, another loan at similar rates. So that £100 million, which Everton can probably go, right, we're not going to spend big, but we've got a little bit of leeway. The interest rates are killing us. So once that stadium happens, that interest rate and that mortgage will probably be 50 years, 100 years, and it will probably be a case of the interest rate will be set at like 4% or 3% for the duration of the stadium. Which will be a massive financial help to Everton, because their outgoings will be like, boom, they'll significantly drop. The problem is it's getting there, and we still have another 18 months to do it. We still have another 18 months. And I can almost guarantee, John, if another potential owner comes into Everton Football Club, I can almost guarantee that they will review leaving Goodison in January, because from a commercial standpoint,
I think I read something. Yeah, I know what you're going to say. I think I read something, for that stadium to sit empty for that long, I think Everton lose something like, was it 8 million? Was it, or something like that?
Yeah, it will be. So Everton will lose money, but it's money that they've never had, because they've never had the stadium.
Yeah, but we need that money to help us.
Yeah, but we won't be in that position, because at that point we'll be able to take a loan out against it to pay off the other fees. So it's not financially as...
Plus, you've probably got more sponsorship deals as well to throw into this.
The point is, at the end of the day, that stadium is a massive asset, and literally, fundamentally, it's shit or bust. That's what it is. It's shit or bust, because it's either Everton go bust building it, or we're going to have money when it's built. You know, the commercial.
Listen, it's going to be finished. I think we can safely say the stadium will be finished. Everton will move into it.
Yeah. But the point is, it's either they're going to be a Championship side,
all right, yeah,
which will kill us, or a Premier League side, which will be
massive for us.
Yeah. So it's one or the other.
And this is why we've said all along, Michael, for the last 6-12 months. 2 years, because we fought relegation for 2 years on the bounce with the 2 seasons gone by. Everton have to be a Premier League club when we go to that new stadium.
Absolutely.
We have to be.
Absolutely. So, look, I'm done. I haven't got anything else to say. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, guys. There will be a match reaction to the Palace game. It'll probably be Thursday, just based on the fact that by the time I leave the ground, it'll be you know, it'll probably go to penalties. We'll probably be heartbroken that we've lost. So and
then an Arnold will miss another one because he'll T-roll
it. So yeah, it'll probably be Thursday, the match reaction. But look, thank you for your support lately with the channel, as always. Thank you for the support to both me and John. We love you all, and just try and keep smiling, because I do feel like something is turning, and it's about time. And yeah, I think the Premier League are in trouble. I think there's going to be an independent commission put together by the government that's going to run essentially. Oh,
mate, they're going to smash them everywhere. I think if they get the right people on board for these appeals, the likes of Richard Masters, mate, is absolutely finished. He's going to get torn a new bumhole.
Excellent. There you go. So, guys, use that analogy wisely. Please don't tear your own. Keep it nice and firm.
Or anyone else's.
Yeah. Well, do that if you like. It's your choice.
Yeah. Each to their own.
Yeah, guys, keep smiling. Up the toughies. Peace.